Son, because the order is this: the Most High, the Son, the man, the woman. We are not skipping to, we want to get to the Father without getting through the Son and also getting through our husbands. We grew up in a very much matriarchal society as Black people, African people. We see the mother holding down the home, doing all these things that she takes on the whole burden, and so that's the picture that we see and we know of marriage or like parenting. Women, we have been tricked out of our way of life. We have been tricked out of our order, and it's time we fix that. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Your Modesty. I'm Ayanda and I talk about all things becoming a true daughter of the Most High in appearance, manner, and in mindset. And if that sounds like a journey that you are on, welcome. Let's get into today's topic. So let's get into the first trend: single, childless, and unmarried. Why is that so problematic for you as a daughter of the Most High to adapt and to actually follow?
So for the first time ever in my life, I could care less about having a man. Like, I am so invested in bettering myself, becoming a better version of myself, cultivating my own space, doing my thing, like working on my business, that I could care less.
First of all, this trend advocates for going against the Most High's design for the woman's anatomy. Women were supposed to give birth. I know that women will say things like, not everyone's supposed to be a mother, not, when the Most High said, be fruitful and multiply, he meant that. I don't think it was only just for Adam and Eve or for the first humans in history, but very much for everyone. That is a mandate. I think the only exception to not have a child is when you are barren. I think that is the most understandable way. And also, it can be reversed, okay? Because we've seen stories of like Sarah asking her husband to pray and intercede on behalf of her. I don't think that would have been she would have given birth if that wasn't the case. Sometimes being barren is a test from the Most High to either get out of your comfort zone or to trust the leadership, the head that He has actually put for you, has chosen for you. And that is something we're going to get into later in this video about leadership. Secondly, the reason why this trend of childless, single, and unmarried is so problematic is because it is a projection of trauma instead of a reflection of your traumas. So, firstly, none of us were supposed to have as much trauma as we have today. We can all agree because a lot of things have been taken out of order and it has now created a chaos in today's society in a way that women don't know who they are, men don't know who they are. And so, because we have now bonded over so much trauma with one another, it has created this sick society, right? And so, sick people infect other people, And so, we have gone and infected the next person, with traumas and traumas and traumas. Essentially, we are all now a sick society. And I'm afraid the next generation is actually also following after our footsteps, unless we take steps towards fixing that, of course. But the reason why it's a projection and not a reflection is because when you say things like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be single forever because I hate men, because that's the reason you want to be single forever. You hate men because things have been done to you, you have been hurt, and so you hate all men and you choose to be single. And from being single, you're saying things like, oh, yeah, I don't need to have children because I don't have a man. So why would I want to be a single mother? Essentially, it's the fear of being a single mother. And a lot of women aren't taking on this mandate, some willingly, some out of circumstance, but it is something that is a reality. And so most women thinking that this is a way of breaking out of or breaking curses, they now resort to the worst thing of all, which is denying your own anatomy, essentially denying the Most High and his mandate over your life, giving birth to a child. That was something that was supposed to be the most important thing a woman can ever do. But now the most important thing is a woman being in power, a woman calling shots and owning your own house, buying all these things that are now fueling consumerism. And the third reason why the single, childless, and unmarried trend is so dangerous is because it is devaluing covenantal marriage. Need I say that marriage has been under attack for a long time, and now we have reached a point where people don't even see the use in being married anymore. In fact, they say things like women are much more happier unmarried, and men actually benefit more from marriage.
His dinner's always hot when he comes home, and the floor swept clean in the morning, and be welcoming to him. Here he comes. Oh, dry your eyes.
I do. Miss Janie.
We got married, just like Nanny wanted.
I am not in the right standing of saying that is wrong or true because I'm unmarried, okay? But I do aspire to get married because I do not want to end up, firstly, projecting something that I've never been through, because a lot of us are very much scared to take our own path. And we see other people on social media and they're like, things I wish I knew when I was 20. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna actually apply that to my life. Well, that's not so bad because they are now forewarning you to not go into a deep trap. But things like, I wish I never married, those things are very much subjective because, first of all, you chose the man. Your silence was very loud.
See this? You know why some of them are empty? Because they all had my ex in them, who I was with for 27 years, and just decided to poof away one day. And if I didn't have my own money, and my own bank account, and my own businesses, I would have been left alone at 42 with an then 9-year-old trying to figure out what in the world I was going to do. Even if you have the best man in the world and you think he would never leave, make your own money, have your own bank accounts, have protection and safety.
Yes, we all have our own will, the free will to choose the people that we are with. Like I mentioned before, the traumas that we have been piling up and how we have infected everybody else has allowed us to, instead of reflecting on saying things like, maybe I did actually, maybe I'm the reason why my marriage failed. And the second trend that I absolutely warn all the children of the Most High to avoid at all costs is the independent woman trend. Need I say, this one has been the most destructive of all of them. Because why? It has We as Black women have been the ushers of this movement, even though we weren't the ones who started this. Yes, no, African women were not the ones who started the independent movement. It was other races. But then we took it upon ourselves because why? Because of the oppression that we have been through, because the men were no longer in our lives. And so, because our society, we grew up in a very much matriarchal society as Black people, African people. We see the mother holding down the home, doing all these things that she takes on the whole burden, and so that's the picture that we see and we know of marriage or like parenting in our culture. And so that has put a stain on the next generation following that. We saw that and we were like, okay, we don't want to be like our moms. And so we're not going to get married. We're not going to have children. And essentially, we are just going to be alone.
Never depend on a man for anything.
Nothing.
Period.
Because that is the best way we think we can avoid what we grew up in. And it is again projection instead of reflection, but then that's human nature to avoid and to run away from, to deflect instead of reflecting.
The thing about being a strong, independent woman is that it's really difficult to find love because men love to be needed and men fall in love with women who make them feel that they are needed. And if you're strong and you're independent and you don't need a man, they kind of feel useless.
And because I created this channel in hopes of helping people and to help myself, because I'm also on this journey, we're here together, girl. I want to unlearn things that were taught to us by the system of Babylon, you know? And because we are preparing to leave the system of Babylon, we cannot have the same mindset and the ways of doing and acting when we enter into the promised land. And so essentially that's what this is all for. And so the independent woman movement is essentially the Jezebel defiant spirit. If you remember very well, Jezebel was a very she was a matriarch, you know. She was very much strong, headstrong, doesn't take any leadership, very much, you know, led herself. And also she hated submission and the thought of like taking leadership from particularly men. I think that is why I associate the Jezebel spirits to the independent movement, because it's very much similar in that sense. And besides it being the spirit that has taken over women's minds lately, it makes women devalue men and take on masculinity. Because as much as we can deny it, masculinity is very much needed in our society. And so, what we have done is that we have dumbed down men and made them more feminine. Actually, the people at the top did that, okay? But we can also take our own share and say that we have also fueled it.
We didn't want to choose to be the providers, the protectors, the problem solvers, but nobody else showed up, so we had to be that. So yes, we're independent, but it's not because we want to. It's not because we don't desire partnership. It's not because we don't desire support and someone to really lean on and love on us. We're truly independent because life has demanded it out of us, and being dependent on the wrong person in the past has cost us way too much.
And the last part on the independent woman movement is that it has reversed the order of hierarchy. Women now, because they don't take an order from a man, they are unable to take an order from the Son of the Most High. They're not able to actually, we think we do, but we don't. If you are denying the headship that was placed on for your life, on you in your life, you are denying the Son, because the order is this: the Most High, the Son, the man, the woman. We are not skipping to, you know, we want to get to the Father without getting through the Son and also getting through our husbands. Because we don't want husbands, then we're just ruining the whole design of everything. And sometimes I know that the exceptions would be if a man is not in the faith. If a man is unequally yoked, then that's obviously not a possibility for you to go through the man. But then it's your responsibility to pray for that man. If you really love him, pray for him to find the faith, to find the truth. And another thing is your responsibility to submit to him. Submit to him regardless of where his spiritual standing actually is. That way you are honoring the Most High, you know? And the last trend that I really, really urge women to avoid is this little subtle one. This very innocent, cutesy, girly trend that has been in our faces. The living alone diaries. Girlies, women of the Most High, women of Zion. This, of all trends, I need you to get out of. Do not be a part of this trend. Why? Uh, First of all, it is glorifying and uncovering of the woman. The uncovering of a woman, which is something that the Most High really stressed when it came to his daughters, the covering. Ooh, this one really touches me because this trend doesn't really scream all of that. But because of the gender reversal, and we don't see most of the things that come after that, you know? And so, what this essentially does is that it makes the woman feel like she can cover herself, and which is not how it was designed to be, because we can only do so much as women. But to cover ourselves, safety wise, mental wise, we cannot really carry that burden on ourselves, because we essentially need community. We need our husbands, we need our fathers, you know? And so by denying all of that and embracing, oh, I'm living alone in my 20s, and it then fuels the independent woman movement. Next thing you're getting two cats and you're content in life, you're good, because these things are very much a slippery slope, snowball effect. And so what I've seen with this trend is that, firstly, okay, I might get in trouble for this. But it's okay. First of all, the woman was never ordered to leave the home. It was the men who were ordered to leave their homes, leave their mothers and fathers, and join with his wife. Women were required to stay home until his husband comes and gets her. I said it.
God made Adam a suitable helpmate. And he made that helpmate not because she's weaker, but because God has given men a capacity and a responsibility that women do not have. And we have to be honest about it. We can say he's not a man, he doesn't know how to lead, he doesn't whatever. There's still a capacity inside of him that God did not give us as women. Imagine you have that man. You have the man that gets the job done, isn't anything special, but he gets the job done. That man, no matter how little you view him, is made to handle the rain. Because an umbrella that is not used, it can be for the rain, for the sun, it shields, it provides shade, it allows what's under it not to be touched. We are the vessel, not weaker. We are the vessel that was meant to let the one that God gave us be held up and used for what he was made.
Women, we have been tricked out of our way of life. We have been tricked out of our order, and it's time we fix that. One thing that I have noticed by the time that I was living alone, right now I'm living at home again, and so that's why I know both sides of the, when I used to live alone, I was more susceptible to, first of all, manipulation by men, and I was unsafe because they would know that I live alone, and so they would want to show up whenever they wanted to. And this could be friends. This could be I used to actually have classmates as well who would just pop up. I'm at the gate, and these are guys, and that is very unsafe. As much as you can trust these men and say things like they're your family, they're your friends, but they're this trend has put women in an unsafe situation, because I understand if you live alone, you don't really have a family and all those things. I get it. It's adulting. At the end of the day, it is being an adult, right, in the society, because you can't just live at home. But I had to say this, but other cultures actually do. Other cultures actually prioritize this covering of a woman, because they understand that once a woman is alone, she is susceptible to a lot of things. You meet a man one day, you like him, you fall in love, but where is that community to hold you accountable, to hold him accountable? The courting process, that was the whole point of a woman leaving from the father's leadership to her husband's leadership. Now the whole thing was just ruined. The woman now leaves the mother and the father, goes and finds a job, and is now covering herself, her safety, everything. She takes care of her own self. That way, it wires her brain to trust and to rely on her own leadership. And so if you are in a position where you are living alone, I suggest you find a community of women, your father, if you don't have a father, some form of male counsel community to hold that man accountable, so that whenever that man knows that he wants to take you seriously, he goes through those people first, because it was supposed to be like this. A man sees you, he likes you, he then says that I want to speak to your parents, and you're like, why? It's like, because I like you, I'd like to get to know you. So he gets to know you through your parents. And so if once your parents give that, that yeah, it's fine, he seems like a good boy, and then that's when you can now fall in love, and you can now trust him, because now it has been reversed. You trust him, you fall in love, and then you introduce him to your parents, and your parents are supposed to like him because you like him. And that's not how it was designed to be. And so I'm glad that I now live at home, and so I've seen the shift in how I also perceive relationships and the order of things, and how respectful it has to be on the side of whichever man wants to court me. He has to go through my parents, my father, to be exact, and so I love it that way. because then I'm not susceptible to manipulation or anything in that way, because my dad will be like, but yeah, I think that's most of what I wanted to speak on in terms of these trends. I really urge all women to avoid these trends by all means, for us to stay safe and for our minds to be renewed. Thank you, ladies. If you like this topic, please make sure to like and subscribe and join the community of women who are now becoming daughters of Zion. I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. I'll see you guys. Bye.